All right, so let's welcome our guest. Just like Vivian rightly said, he is an senior energy consultant and public affairs analyst. That's Dr. Wisdom Enang. Good morning and welcome to Newspaper Review.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
You're
Good
welcome.
morning.
Good morning.
All right. So let's start off with the local government autonomy, the Supreme Court verdict. Now, while everybody is jubilating, some governors are saying, I think one of the governors, an ex-deputy governor, is saying that this particular verdict is an assault to true federalism, while governors Otu and governors, one other governor is saying that they would review this and also they need money to work at all levels. What do you think about this? In as much as President Tinubu has also come out to say that, yes, now local governments must account for every penny spent. But what are your thoughts regarding this judgment and the way forward?
Thank you very much. Again, I'm glad you landed out by saying my thoughts. Yeah, certainly right. I'm going to just oppose the judgment vis-a-vis the local government governance structure that I know today. Um, and I like to say that the local government structure that we know today are typically just from what it is today, the prerogative of the governor, like really, whoever I think I want to put in there, because it's the state that does the elections anyways, and we know those methods could be twisted to yield certain results. Now, that being said, I'm asking myself, we've made a law, but are they going to be, or we've made, the Supreme Court has made a stance, but what are the imperatives to make sure that these work? And is it going to work with the current set of people who are basically, for the most part, used as compensation from the state government? Like, okay, basically, we give them the local government to run in compensation for whatever they had done. And this is without recourse to whether these people are very good financial managers. This is without recourse to their discipline. So, and the state could have afforded that in the past because it is easy. The state would have the funds. So whoever has the money controls everybody. But right now, my question is, away from even the monetary aspect of the financial implications, how are the state governors going to react in terms of from an implementation standpoint to ensure that they have the right set of people at the local government levels, the parties, how they're going to react to make sure you put the right people in, because these guys are not just going to be sort of a shadow figure or sort of just being put in there to do whatever the state government do. They're actually now going to take decisions that are going to be consequential at that level. I haven't seen any of that. I don't see any preparations, and that's just me being honest. And I think that's the real concern that I have. The current local government governance structure is not fit for the implementation of this. A lot of those guys are clueless. They just there for compensation, and they don't really have that prowess in terms of economic management.
Now, away from this particular story, I know this next one I'm going to be putting to you is going to catch your fancy because you are a senior energy consultant. Now, on the front page of the Punch, you have this one. Federal government, IOCs, international oil companies, agree on crude supply to Dangote local refineries. So, what's your take on this?
Very exciting. I mean, when I hear things like that, the devil is in the details. What volume? What is the commercial agreement? Because look, there are a number of things that could happen, right? You could have a situation where, yes, we've agreed, provided these terms are met. But if I were to design that, I'll cleverly put terms that you would never meet. I can tell you that. I could tell you I need my payments in about a day after I supply your crude. I could tell you, so there's a number of things. So the devil is in the detail. We've seen these political headlines time and time again with the Port Harcourt refinery. We've seen it. The question is, have they sort of put the nuts and bolts on those details to make sure it is realizable? Or is it just something to cheer the public up? Because at the end of the day, I would say it is subject to certain commercial terms, but how realistic are those commercial terms? That's the big question to ask.
Very well said.
All right. Also, I'm sure you've heard the announcement that has been made. I think it was coming from the federal government that come next year we'll have a crash of food price. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think that it's really realistic that food prices can come down by next year, going at the current rate of things?
Right. At the current rate of things, I also have to factor in what is their modus operandi. Are they expanding agriculture or are they importing to crash food prices? And if you take that into cognizance, you find out that if you are importing to crash food prices, it's only very short-lived. At a point, you have an FX, kind of issue, and at the end, you might not be able to sustain it. And we've seen this time and time again. When we're having the intervention at the FX market, where the government was putting out a lot of FX to, sort of, well, for lack of a better word, crash that market. We saw it come down to 1,100. In fact, we're predicting it come down to 800. But why is that unnatural? It's unnatural because that's the government doing things. That's not investors rushing to the market. So you'll crash it for a while, but sustainably crashing that market, I do not see that happen if you're only importing food items.
All right, let's quickly take a look at this one. It's also on the front page of the Punch, and it says that minimum wage, that's the subtitle. Tinubu labor talks adjourned till next week. On another national daily, President Tinubu is heard saying that 250,000 naira minimum wage is unrealistic. What's your take on this?
Yeah, 250,000 naira is going to be a tough one, and for two reasons, right? The first is you have to consider minimum wage not just as a federal government thing. It's something that even the private sector that meets certain criteria. I think the criteria is the number of workers and their scale of operations. They will need to pay this amount. And think about it. If that cascades to the private sector, think about the ripple effect on the consumer price index. Think about the ripple effects on our consumer price goods. So the thing is, it's not realistic. And because, remember, nobody's talking about inflation. Nobody's talking about productivity here. We're talking about increasing the volume of money in circulation. Once you do that, you find out that once you do not match, productivity, that you risk having an inflationary escalation because you already have inflation at the moment. So, realistically, I do feel that we should raise the minimum wage maybe to 100, 120. Sorry. But I do not see that we can sustain 250K just because of the inflation risk and the fact that the private sectors may struggle to pay that.
All right. Sorry to take you back to the local government autonomy, but there's this story, an interesting one from The Guardian. It says, why local governments have not escaped powerful clasp of governors. Do you believe in this statement? Do you think that the governors still have a hold in as much as the local governments have that autonomy to operate, with their own funds?
No, I don't believe that. I haven't read the context within which that was said, but I don't believe that the governors should still have, because again, whoever controls the money controls, the authority. And I do believe that now I think the local governments now have, their own say. As I said, the only issue is going to be where are we going to draw the lines? I'll give you context in terms of who does what, functional lines. Now, we've heard the federal government say that they would like to take all the staff from the state government, the local government, and the federal government and put them in one payment platform. And so the thing is, the money that is going, what is it earmarked for? How do we have that interface meetings between the state government and the local governments to be able to discuss who does what? Because you don't want a situation where, this is what I'm trying to guard against. Now, you have the attitude where the state governor predicts what happens in the local government in terms of projects. Oh, this is the project we're going to do, this is the project. But if you then put the autonomy and then we don't define the functional, lines upon which we would work the state government administration and the local government administration, what will happen is the local government guys will just keep that money and trying to find a way to get it out and say, well, the state government will come and do it. They'll still eventually do it. And then the federal government, the state government, on the other hand, will say, well, they have autonomy. We're not going to focus on that. Let's focus on these aspects. So we need to define that. Otherwise, we'll spend years finding that the autonomy itself has yielded a situation where, in an African adage, they say a chicken that is owned by the community will soon die of hunger because the state government is saying the local government owns the chicken, and the local government is saying the state government owns the chicken. Then who feeds the chicken? That's the question.
Who feeds the chicken? All right, let's quickly take a look at this story now. It's on the front page of the Daily Trust. It says that Governor Aliu assents to law stripping Sultan of power to appoint district heads. Governor Aliu, that's governor of Sokoto State now. I remember Olumide saying earlier on that this is just a spillover of what is happening in Kano State right now. What's your take?
Yeah, I believe it's a spillover, and I think it's a litmus test for how we balance traditional powers versus the powers of the elected government. But I think the whole thing is this, right? We need to find a way to do that because I keep saying this: whatever we do begins to set a precedence for the future. That's my take. Even when we talk about the Rivers case, I always express concern that this is not about the individuals involved.
All right.
This is about the president.
Can you hold your thought, please? I'll be right back. Let's take this call. Abakar from Kogi, thank you for calling. Good morning. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good morning.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Actually, I want to respond to the issue of this local government issue. Long before now, Nigeria has been operating three tiers of government, which is the federal, the state, and the local government. Under the military administration, we also have these three tiers of government operating effectively without interfering the other side. But long before that, when Olusegun Obasanjo came as the civilian government, when they were looking for this third-term agenda of issue, they moved local government to the state. I don't know if you understand.
Yes, we're getting you.
It was then that we begin to have local government under the state administrator. If not, the three tiers of the government have been operating separately. And before now, since they moved local government down to the state, we begin to have the bad side of the government. Now, the party under which the aspirants come to stand now has been moved directly to the governor's hands because the presidents are using them to get their own votes from the local government, so that the local government will not have a say under the state government, and which will reduce the common people to nothing. And that is the major reason people at the grassroots, their vote has nothing to count for. By now, if President Tinubu can bring back local government autonomy to it, that is when we will understand that yes, today or tomorrow, the local government or people at the grassroots will begin to have a say in their votes.
All right, thank you very much, Abubakar from Kogi. We do appreciate your call.
Thank you. So let's just have you land on your thoughts, Wisdom, before we wrap this up, please. You were talking about what's happening in Sokoto State with the Sultan.
Yeah, I said all of those happening, including the River State, is all setting a precedence for, the future of democracy and how we handle things. And I just would, think we should exercise a bit of caution in some of those actions because if we're not careful, right, it sort of it creates an indentation on a negative basis for our democracy. Just to add to what the gentleman said about, the whole autonomy thing, we do know that the Nigeria is going to, the democracy of Nigeria is going to be on a continuous development path, and things like this will come. However, we're only asking ourselves, yes, we have had this handed in. I don't even think that some of the governors have a handle on the realities that comes with this judgment. And I'm not even sure how they intend to begin to implement the provisions in such a way that it doesn't hamper governance. But what I would say is, it all starts with the political parties. The people that you're putting out forward, make sure that they're not just on the basis of a compensation. Make sure you are putting out financial managers, because whilst the idea of having INEC conduct the elections may come in the next election cycle, the current cycle will start seeing payments made directly to the local government administrators, and they would have to run the show. So please, political
I'm
parties,
so sorry.
the right.
I have to cut in again. Idoko from Lagos, thank you for calling. Good morning. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good morning.
Morning.
Please, I want to talk about this local government of Eke. Actually, it is something that everybody has been hoping for, because we know that the governors have been abusing the local government fund. And now that we have this law, I want to draw our attention to the fact that having law and implementing it are two different things. As of now, we can say yes, there is a relief, because we have law to checkmate the governors from abusing local government. But then you have to understand that those corrupt people, they will always find means of, achieving their aim. My fear now is that we have to be careful, because those governors, before you know it, they will now be putting election of local government for sale. I mean the post of local government chairman for sale. Before you get to that post, you must be forced to either find the money to pay them or reach an agreement. So what I'm saying is that I'm drawing attention of the government to know if there is a way of checkmating governors from influencing the election of local government. Because so far they have the power to influence the election of local government. They will make those local government chairmen, they will make it difficult for them by making sure that either they pay them before coming here, or they will be forced to pay even when they are there and getting the money direct.
All right, thank you very much for calling. We do appreciate your call. I think what he was trying to say there is that come local government elections, the forms might be expensive, and they might politicize it. I think that's what he's trying to bring our attention
I think
to.
he sort of re-echoed Dr. Enang's sentiments. He said there must be, accountability, check and balances to ensure that this is not abused.
Yes.
So in absentia, we are going to be saying thank you to Dr. Wisdom Enang for being a part of the newspaper review this morning. We do appreciate your contribution always.